The grease-stained apron felt heavy on Cameron's shoulders, almost as heavy as the hollowness in his chest. Another burger, another greasy smile plastered on for a customer who'd forget his face in 5 minutes. He flipped the patty with more force than necessary, the sizzle a pathetic imitation of the fire that used to burn within him, a fire now choked with ashes of resentment and disappointment. Cameron Burke grew up in the shadow of a monster. His father, a man who used his fists and his voice like weapons, had chipped away at any belief in goodness, in order, in a benevolent creator. God wasn't real, not in Cameron's world. Only pain was real. Witnessing his mother's terrified obedience, then her eventual abandonment, had cemented the idea. She left him in the system, a conveyor belt of foster homes, each one a different flavor of neglect. The streets became his family. The gang, with their promises of belonging and power, replaced the void left by his parents. Clubbing, drinking, the fleeting validation he found in the arms of strangers, they were all temporary salves on a wound that refused to heal. He worked at the burger stand, a mundane existence punctuated by nights of reckless abandon. The cycle was predictable, unsatisfying, and left him perpetually empty. One particularly bleak afternoon, after a soul-crushing shift, Cameron found himself wandering aimlessly through a nearby park. He slumped onto a bench, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a beauty he almost resented. Beauty felt like a cruel joke, a reminder of what he didn't have. Another day closer to the grave, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. An elderly man, sitting on the adjacent bench with a weathered Bible in his lap, cleared his throat. A bit cynical for such a beautiful evening, wouldn't you say, young man? Cameron bristled. He hated unsolicited advice, hated the condescension he often felt from people who thought they knew better. Just stating facts, old man. What's beautiful about it? People suffer, they die, and then they're forgotten. Where's God in all that? He scoffed, his voice laced with bitterness. If there even is a God, which I highly doubt. My life's proof he's either non-existent or a sadist. The old man, whose name Cameron didn't bother to ask, smiled gently. Even in the darkest of nights, stars still shine. God's love is like that, Cameron. It's always there, even when we can't see it. Cameron scoffed again. Yeah, right. Tell that to my mom. Tell that to all the kids stuck in the system. Tell that to the guys I know who are gonna be dead before they're 30. Good God. Good God wouldn't let that happen. He gestured wildly with his hand, his voice rising. He's a fairy tale, a crutch for the weak. The old man didn't flinch. I understand your anger, son. You've been through a lot. But perhaps you're judging God based on the actions of men. He gave us free will, and unfortunately, that choice can lead to pain. But God's grace is always available. He offers forgiveness, healing, and a purpose beyond what we can see. Cameron stared at the man, his cynicism battling with a flicker of something he couldn't quite identify. He wanted to believe him, a tiny, desperate part of him yearned for the comfort the old man offered. But the walls he'd built over years of pain and disillusionment were too high, too thick. Spare me the sermon, he spat, pushing himself to his feet. I've heard it all before. My life is what it is. Deal with it. He turned and walked away, leaving the old man sitting on the bench, the setting sun casting long shadows around him. As Cameron trudged back to his apartment, a cramped, dingy space above a laundromat, the old man's words echoed in his mind, perhaps you're judging God based on the actions of men. He tried to dismiss them, to bury them under layers of cynicism and resentment. But they lingered, a persistent whisper in the silence of his lonely life. He slammed the apartment door shut, silencing the whisper, he thought. The old man watched him go, his face etched with concern and, a quiet, unwavering faith. He opened his Bible, the pages worn and softened by years of use. He knew he couldn't force Cameron to believe, but he could plant a seed. He hoped, with all his heart, that one day, that seed would find fertile ground, and that Cameron Burke would finally find the grace he so desperately needed. As he closed the Bible, he prayed, "God, touch his heart. Let him know you are real and that you are a good God."